A home does not become worth a number just because the owner wants that number. Buyers compare it with other homes, lenders look for support, and agents study recent sales. A comparative market analysis, often called a CMA, is the practical tool used to estimate a realistic selling price. Buyer evidence matters because real offers show what the market is willing to pay now, not months ago. A CMA compares a property with similar homes that recently sold, are currently listed, or failed to sell nearby. The purpose is not to find a perfect twin. The purpose is to understand what the market has actually accepted for homes with similar location, size, condition, features, and timing. A seller's preferred price may not survive comparison with similar homes that buyers rejected. Sold homes usually matter most because they show completed buyer decisions. An active listing only shows what someone is asking. An expired listing may show what the market rejected. A good CMA uses all three types carefully instead of treating every price as equal evidence. A price range is stronger than one magic number because each comparable home has differences. Location is the first filter. A similar house across town may not be a good comparison if schools, commute, lot size, noise, or neighborhood demand differ. Real estate is local enough that crossing one major road can sometimes change the buyer pool. The decision changes when price range is checked before the decision becomes expensive to reverse. Size matters, but square footage is not everything. Two homes with the same size can feel different if one has a better layout, newer systems, more natural light, or a finished basement. A CMA adjusts for differences instead of blindly dividing price by square foot. Condition adjustments matter when one home has a renovated kitchen and another needs major repairs. Condition changes value quickly. A renovated kitchen, newer roof, updated plumbing, or clean inspection history can support a higher price. Peeling paint, old HVAC, water damage, or outdated bathrooms can push buyers to discount the home, even if the location is strong. Buyer evidence helps separate market demand from the seller's personal attachment to the property. Timing matters because markets move. A sale from 2 years ago may be less useful if interest rates, inventory, or local demand change. Recent sales usually carry more weight, especially in fast-moving markets. An expired listing is a warning that the old asking price may have been too high for the market. Imagine 3 similar homes sold nearby. One sold for less because it backed onto a busy road. One sold higher because it had a large renovated kitchen. One matched the subject property closely but had a smaller yard. The CMA becomes a judgment exercise, not a simple average. The safer reading is that sold comparable is checked before the decision becomes expensive to reverse. Agents also look at active competition. If a seller lists too high while 3 similar homes sit cheaper nearby, buyers may skip the property. Pricing is not done in isolation. The home competes with everything a buyer can tour that week. Sold comparables carry more weight than opinions because they show completed decisions. Expired and withdrawn listings reveal danger zones. If a similar home sat for months at a certain price and did not sell, that price may be too ambitious. The market has already given feedback. Ignoring that evidence can lead to a stale listing. Active competition matters because today's buyers compare your property with what they can buy this week. A CMA is not the same as an appraisal. An appraisal is usually prepared by a licensed appraiser for a lender or formal purpose. A CMA is typically prepared by a real estate agent to guide pricing strategy. Both use comparable sales, but the context and authority differ. A normal week of showings can reveal whether the price is attracting serious buyers or only casual interest. Pricing too high can cost time. A seller may think they can start high and negotiate later. Sometimes that works, but often the strongest buyer attention comes early. If the home looks overpriced at launch, serious buyers may move on before the price is corrected. A small detail changes things when sold comparable is checked before the decision becomes expensive to reverse. Pricing too low has risks too. It may attract attention, but if demand is weak, the seller may not receive the bidding response they hoped for. A strong CMA helps decide whether a low-list strategy fits the market or simply leaves money behind. Expired listings show what the market refused, which is just as useful as seeing what sold. Adjustments should be realistic. Adding a huge amount for sentimental upgrades, custom taste, or personal memories can distort the analysis. Buyers pay for value they recognize, not for every dollar the owner spent. Condition adjustments stop the analysis from treating unlike homes as if they were identical. For buyers, a CMA helps avoid overpaying. If the asking price is far above recent comparable sales, the buyer can ask why. Maybe the home has rare features. Maybe the seller is testing the market. The comparison gives the buyer a grounded starting point. An earnest seller may need to price against competing listings, not against personal hopes. For sellers, a CMA turns emotion into a pricing conversation. The home may be meaningful, but the market responds to alternatives. A good CMA does not insult the seller. It shows what buyers have been willing to pay for similar choices. The relationship effect appears when expired listing is checked before the decision becomes expensive to reverse. The strongest CMA also explains uncertainty. If only a few comparable homes exist, the price range may need to be wider. If the subject property has rare features, the agent should explain which buyers would pay for them and which buyers would ignore them. A seller's deadline can affect pricing strategy, but it does not change what comparable buyers paid. Photos can mislead a CMA if they hide condition. A home may look similar online but have old wiring, poor drainage, or awkward rooms that buyers notice during tours. Good analysis uses photos, property details, showing feedback, and local knowledge together. The best comparable is recent, nearby, similar in condition, and sold through normal market exposure. The final price strategy should match the seller's priority. A seller who needs speed may choose a sharper price. A seller with time may test a narrower premium. The CMA provides evidence, but the strategy depends on timing, risk tolerance, and competition. A property with better upgrades may deserve a premium, but the premium has to match buyer behavior. The strongest CMA also explains uncertainty. If only a few comparable homes exist, the price range may need to be wider. If the subject property has rare features, the agent should explain which buyers would pay for them and which buyers would ignore them. For example, active competition is checked before the decision becomes expensive to reverse. The best CMA is not the one that gives the highest number. It is the one that explains the number clearly. It should show the comparable homes, the differences, the adjustments, and the pricing logic. A realistic price is easier to defend when the evidence is visible.